Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, last day, which was the problem where I stopped, there were some typographical errors. Now, these were corrected. Just look here. Here, inadvertently, I had written 0.5 by 0.2. That was corrected. But here also, it was 0.5 by 0.2. So, I don't know whether you have made the corrections here. So, please cross-check. All right. Now, move on to the concept of causality of DT-LTI systems. A very simple issue, although. Oh. You know the definition of causality of systems. Any system, it is called causal if the output at the current instant doesn't depend on the future values of the input. It may depend on the current input, the past input samples, it may depend on the past output samples, but for causal system, the system should not depend on, the output of the system should not depend on the future values of the input. That is, it shouldn't depend on, yn shouldn't depend on xn plus 1, xn plus 2, etc. A system that is not satisfying this condition is non-causal. Now, in case of these discrete time systems, the importance of the concept of causality is that in case of continuous time system, all systems, they were causal, treated as causal. And on that basis, all the discussions were made. But in case of discrete time systems, as I have pointed out, there can be two types of processing. One type of processing means the stream of data is coming in. You are processing the data, can be differentiation, can be integration, can be filtering, and throwing the output. All right, throwing the result as the output. So this is going on incessantly. So that is called online signal processing or real-time signal processing. In another variety of signal processing, what is done is that a stream of data comes in. So all these data samples, they are kept stored in some memory device, bulk memory device. Can be a hard disk, can be anything else, a CD, can be a pen drive, etc. For processing at some later instant of time. So at some later instant of time, when the application demands that this data should be processed, you have to retrieve this data from this bulk memory device where these samples were stored and process them. In the first variety, for real-time signal processing, the system has to be causal, because at every instant of time, no knowledge of the future input is available. But for the second type of processing known as offline processing, there all the samples are available. Now the choice of n equal to 0, that depends on you. So based on this choice, you can have values of input samples for n greater than 0 and also for n less than 0. So there the system is non-causal. All right. If in case of continuous time system, you find that the system is non-causal, it's not implementable, it's not realizable. But in case of this discrete time systems, that is not the situation. Just have a look at certain examples of non-causal systems. The output yn and the input xn are related through difference equations in all these examples. In case of the first example, just consider n equal to 0, y0 will be 2x0 plus 1.5x3. For n equal to 1, it will be 2x1 plus 1.5x4. So at all instants of time, the output depends on the future value of the input. So this is non-causal. In the second case, y0 is x0, y1 is x2, y2 is x4, like that. So this is also a non-causal system. So causality means at every instant of time, the output shouldn't depend on future value of input. That condition is violated in this second case. Y0, it was equal to x0, no doubt. But for other instance of time, y1, y2, y3, y4, they depend on the future values of the input samples. Similarly, in case of yn given by x with argument n squared, yn equal to x minus n, just as an example, considered n equal to 2, y minus 2 is equal to x2. So that it is also non-causal. Now, how from a property of a system you will understand whether the system is causal or non-causal. From this difference equation, you can easily understand, but from other properties of the system, how will you understand? As for example, the impulse response. In case of the impulse response of a DTL-TI system, you excite the system by a unit sample sequence. So there is delta n as the excitation, which has a value of 1 at n equal to 0. And at all other instants, it has 0 values. Therefore, when you excite the system by such a sequence, there should be no output for n less than 0. That means the impulse response sequence of the system, that should be a causal sequence. Only then can you assert it, can you say that the system is causal. Not only that, if it is causal, the step response, the ramp response, the response to parabola, all of them should be causal sequences. But why am I harping on impulse response? Because from impulse response, you can straightway move to the Z domain, take the Z transform and obtain GZ, that is Z transfer function. So here I have considered delta n, that is delta n. And second one is a representative impulse response sequence for a non-causal system. Just see that it has non-zero values for n less than 0. Just the bottom figure, that is a representative case for the impulse response of a causal system. All right. So write down this part. constraint on the transfer function. Draw those figures, then I'll proceed. Constraint on the transfer function means what condition must the transfer function of a DTLT system satisfy for causal implementation of the system. I will not give any general proof. I will illustrate something, and from that you can easily get what condition must be satisfied by the transfer function. Take this example. Gz is given by a rational function. That means a ratio of polynomials in z. So this is yz by xz, where y is the system output corresponding to a system input of x. I want to obtain a difference equation relating yn and xn. For that, I divide the numerator and denominator of gz by z square. All right. So what you get in the numerator is z plus 2 plus z to the power minus 1 plus z to the power minus 2. And in the denominator, you get 2 plus 4z to the power minus 1 plus z to the power minus 2. Now, if you just cross multiply, then rearrange the terms such that yz term involving yz, that remains on the left hand side, all other terms are on the right hand side. What do you get? You get this expression for yz, 0.5z plus xz plus 0.5z to the power minus 1 xz, etc. So now if you take the inverse z transform, what you will get? Yn equal to 0.5 xn plus 1. So that term that is the culprit. So because of presence of that term, what happens? The output at every instant, it depends on a future value of the input. All other terms, they are safe. But because of this term, the output at every instant will depend on the future value of the input. Thus, the system is non-causal. If you observe this expression carefully, you will find that the order of the numerator polynomials in Z, that is greater than that of the denominator polynomial in Z. And that's why this type of term comes in. All right. So when you have an expression for the transfer function as a rational function, if you observe that the order of the numerator polynomial in Z is greater than that of the denominator polynomial in Z, then you can be sure that the system will have no non-causal realization. Will have no causal realization. It is non-causal. So I have just make that observation here. If order of numerator polynomial in Z is less than equal to order of denominator polynomial in Z, it is possible to have causal implementation of the system. If the constraint that I have mentioned regarding the order of polynomial in Z that is satisfied, we can have both causal and non-causal implementations. But if the order of numerator polynomial in Z that is greater than the order of the denominator polynomial in Z, causal implementation is not possible. All right. Causal implementation is not possible. So in case of continuous time system, in the expression for GS, if you find that the order of the numerator polynomial in S that is greater than the order of the denominator polynomial in S, then what's the implication there? The system is unstable. But here the implication is different. I'm talking about the order of polynomial in Z, that observation. All right. It is related to causality,
Sir,
not related to stability. Yes.
sir, I have a question. So in that above example, you have multiplied both the numerator and the denominator by z to the power minus 2. But sir, if you hadn't done that, still also the system would have been proved non-causal. So why did you
Yes.
do that?
Oh, no. That is true. That is true. What I wanted to do is that I wanted to generate some causal terms also. When you actually try to find out the difference relation between yn and xn, you try to express the expression for gz as a ratio of polynomials in z to the power minus 1. So then you will have a difference equation that will be that representing the causal system. So that's why I have tried to do that. All right.
Okay, so
If
we
you,
try to make it as a power of z to the power minus 1.
yes, but remember here there is another point that I was going to say. Suppose gz is expressed as a ratio of polynomials in z to the power minus 1. Suppose, then if the order of the numerator polynomial, remember that it's a polynomial in z to the power minus 1, then if the order of the numerator polynomial is greater than that of the denominator polynomial, that will not disturb causality. You take any arbitrary example, say that the numerator polynomial is 1.1 plus 0.5 z to the power minus 1 plus 0.2 z to the power minus 3 plus 0.3 z to the power minus 4, and in the denominator you consider polynomial as 1 plus 0.6 into z to the power minus 1 plus 0.9 into z to the power minus 2. Take this type of example, you will find that the system is non-causal. So only when, if gz is expressed as a ratio of polynomials in z, you find that the order of the numerator polynomial is greater than that of the denominator polynomial, only in that case you can say that the system is non-causal.
Sir,
Uh,
sir, in that final expression, I mean z plus 2 plus z to the power minus 1 plus z to the power minus 2 divided by that expression, if we still multiply the numerator and the denominator by z to the power minus 1, then the system, wouldn't the system be causal? I mean like
which one?
causal? I mean
Which one?
if you still multiply the numerator and the denominator by another z to the power minus 1 in
Why
the
should you
second line,
multiply?
huh?
Why should you multiply?
I mean, if we do that, then wouldn't it seem causal?
No, z to the power minus y. Why should you multiply? You are changing the entire thing.
Okay, okay.
You are changing gz. Here I
Okay,
have
sir.
not tried to change gz.
No, sir,
What I have done
GZ
is that
wouldn't be
I have,
changed.
yes,
I said, no, sir, GZ, I mean, I am multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by z to the power minus 1, another set of z to the power minus 1.
Sir,
Then, sir,
still, sir, he what he is saying, I think still the system will be non-causal because they are
yes,
no, yn will be not there. Y of n minus one, something like
right,
that
right, right, right,
will be
right,
there.
right.
oh,
That
right,
is
right.
true. Hmm.
Yes. Okay, sir, thank you.
Oh, you are multiplying both numerator and denominator polynomial, right? Hmm. So you will get an expression is expression of yn minus 1, isn't it? সেটাই তো বলছো?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
হ্যাঁ, তাহলে yn minus 1, there in the expression there will be a term of xn.
Yes, sir. Then system will be
So
non-causal.
it depends on the future input. All right. So that's what you are saying. I understand. Write down this part. That was about the causality. Next topic is stability of DT-LTI systems. You know what is meant by bounded input, bounded output stability by now. What is meant by a bounded signal? Bounded signal means the magnitude of the signal should never be outside a finite bound. That means the magnitude of the signal, if you take into consideration all possible instants of time, the magnitude of the signal should not, it should be finite. All right. Now the concept of bounded input, bounded output stability is that a system, it is called stable in bounded input, bounded output sense, if and only if for every bounded input, the output is also bounded. This is important. For every bounded input, the output, for every, this adjective is important. Every bounded input, the output should also be bounded. Meaning is that there can be systems for which you find that for a particular bounded input, that's output is bounded. That doesn't guarantee that the system will be having bounded input, bounded output stability, because it may happen that for other bounded inputs, you may find that the system output is not bounded. that type of a situation may arise. So that is why the implication is that for each and every bounded input, the output should be bounded. So what's the constraint on impulse response? What's the constraint on the transfer function, etc.? That are to be determined. If xn is bounded, then there will be existing a positive real constant bx such that magnitude of xn is less than equal to bx, which is finite for all n. Similarly, if the output is bounded, there will exist some constant by such that magnitude of yn is less than equal to by, which is finite for all n. Now, what is the constraint on impulse response? So that is the convolution representation of a certain DT-LTI system. All right. And say the sequence xn is bounded. So this is the convolution sum expression. Taking the magnitude of both sides, you will get this expression. The magnitude of the right-hand side, you can write that that will be less than equal to summation over the product of the magnitudes of gm and xn minus m. This inequality is well understood. Magnitude of the summation is less than equal to the summation of the magnitude, product of the magnitudes. Now here, magnitude of xn minus m, because it is less than equal to bx, that's what we have assumed. We are assuming a bounded input. So that's why that condition will be satisfied. But bx is finite. Therefore, magnitude of yn, if you make this substitution, magnitude of xn minus m equal to bx, magnitude of yn will be less than equal to bx times that summation. So for yn to be bounded, what do we require? We require that magnitude of yn, it should be finite. bx is finite on the right-hand side. So for magnitude of yn to be finite, this summation has to be finite. That means the impulse response sequence has to be absolutely summable. It has to be absolutely summable. So this is the condition. All right. Therefore, for Bibo stability of any DT-LTI system, its impulse response has to be absolutely summable. Meaning of absolute summability is given by this expression. All right. Now have a look at the constraint on transfer function. Okay, I'll come to that later. First, note down this part. Which constraint on the impulse response. Waiting sequence and impulse response sequence, they are same.
Sir, would you repeat the another name?
Waiting sequence or impulse response sequence, they are same.
Okay, sir.
I've written within brackets waiting sequence.
So please scroll up.
Uh,
So done.
then have a look at this transfer function. Gz is the Z transform of sequence Xn, where Gn is the, Z transform of the sequence Gn, where Gn is the impulse response sequence or waiting sequence of the system. That is the basic definition of Z transform summation expression. Magnitude of Gz is equal to magnitude of this summation. So it will be less than equal to summation of these two products. I mean, this product of two terms. All right. Now, if you evaluate the Z transform on the unit circle centered at origin in the Z plane, that means if you let magnitude of Z equal to 1, what will happen to magnitude of Gz? It will be less than equal to this summation. If the system under consideration is bivostable, then the right hand side should be finite. Absolutely summable. Gn should be absolutely summable, meaning that the right hand side should be finite. So for Biot stability, magnitude of Gz, it has to be finite. All right. Magnitude of Gz here means magnitude of Gz when evaluated on the circumference of unit circle. That should be finite. Recall that magnitude of Gz, it can be finite only in the region of convergence of Gz. Gz is a Z transform. This is the Z transform of Gn. So when is this magnitude of Gz, the Z transform finite? It will be finite in the region of convergence of the Z transform. All right. So we have shown that for the stability of this system, Biot stability of the system, the magnitude of Gz evaluated on the unit circle, evaluated on the circumference of the unit circle, that should be finite. We can also say that magnitude of Gz, it can only be finite in the ROC of Gz. What does that imply? If you combine both these observations, what can you say? It means that the circumference of the unit circle should lie in the ROC of Gz, isn't it? Gz, when evaluated on the circumference of the unit circle, then magnitude of Gz should be finite. Again, magnitude of Gz can only be finite in the ROC of Gz. Magnitude of Gz evaluated on unit circle means magnitude of Z is equal to 1. All right. So it is the circumference of unit circle. Magnitude of Gz being a Z transform, can only be finite in the region of convergence, region in the Z plane on which this magnitude is finite. Therefore, the unit circle circumference of the unit circle, it should lie in the ROC of Gz. So DTLTI system is Biot stable if and only if ROC of the system transfer function, that means Gz, includes unit circle centered at origin in Z plane. That is, the circumference of the unit circle lies in the ROC. So that is irrespective of whether the system is causal or non-causal. বুঝেছো? চিন্তা করো এখন, বোঝা যাচ্ছে কিনা? Write down this part. I repeat, if there is any problem in understanding, just see here that I have written down one inequality. If magnitude of Gz, we are only considering Gz evaluated along the circumference of the unit circle centered at origin in the Z plane. That means we are only considering magnitude of Z equal to 1. So in that case, what will happen? Magnitude of Gz, it will be less than equal to summation of the magnitude of Gn. For a Biot stable system, summation of the magnitude of Gn, that should be finite. Therefore, for a Biot stable system, magnitude of Gz evaluated on the circumference, along the circumference of the unit circle centered at origin, that should be finite. Again, magnitude of Gz, forget about stability. From your knowledge of Z transform, from your knowledge of ROC, what can you say? Magnitude of Gz is finite only in the region of convergence in the Z plane. If you combine these two, you will find that the condition for Bibo stability is that circumference of the unit circle, it should lie in the ROC. সার্কামফারেন্সটা যদি ROC তে লাই করে তবেই তো ম্যাগনিটিউড অফ GZ evaluated on the circumference can be finite, তাই না? কাজী that is the condition for Bibo stability.
Yes, sir.
লেখা হয়েছে এটা? There is a chance of astonishment because in case of continuous time LTI systems, we could ascertain stability from a knowledge of location of poles of the transfer function. Here there is no such, according to what we have discussed so long, there is no such observation related to the location of poles. But remember that whatever we have observed, that is applicable both for causal as well as non-causal systems. We will discuss about the case for causal system. Then let us see what happens. So here arbitrarily I have shown one ROC, the generalized ROC that is in the form of a ring-shaped region in the Z plane. And for this arbitrarily chosen ROC, we have let the unit circumference of the unit circle lie in the ROC. All right. So this is the case of a DTLTI system whose impulse response is two-sided, and which is also stable. That means non-causal but stable DT-LTI system. এই লেখাগুলো হয়ে গেছে তো? ঠিক আছে।
Yes.
If you consider in particular causal systems, the observation can be narrowed down to a certain extent, rather to a considerable extent. How? In case of a causal system, the impulse response is a causal sequence. So its Z transform, that means GZ, what will be its ROC? ROC will be the exterior of a circle with radius small r, say, isn't it? Because Gn has to be a causal sequence, its Z transform, that means GZ, its ROC will be the exterior of a circle with radius, say, small r, exterior of some circle. If over and above being a causal system, the system is also stable, bivostable, then what will happen? The unit circle should lie in the ROC. The circumference of the unit circle should lie in the ROC. Therefore, where will the poles be located? Poles cannot lie in the ROC. So poles will lie in the ROD. This is the case. Because we are considering a causal system, first forget about stability. Because we are considering a causal system, the ROC of GZ, it's the exterior of a circle with radius r, entered at origin in the Z plane. So all these region that I have marked in yellow, that is the ROC. All right. Now, because over and above being a causal system, if it is also bivostable, then the circumference of the unit circle centered at origin, that should lie in this yellow region. That means in the ROC. So where should the poles lie? Poles can lie in only in this white region, and there should be at least one pole in the boundary. That means for this case, the poles should lie in the interior of a unit circle centered at origin in the Z plane for bivostability. Do you understand? What is the maximum possible value of small r? Small r cannot be greater than 1, so that the unit unit circle lies in the ROC. So the poles will lie inside the unit circle. White region means it is inside the unit circle.
So can you scroll up a little bit?
Oh, yes.
All right, sir.
কারো ডাউনলোড হচ্ছে না হ্যাঁ কারো হচ্ছে না এবার তো লেখা যাবে না আচ্ছা সৌমিতা মিসকে জানো জয়ের নাম্বার থেকে উঠবে
So this observation is in correspondence or conformity with what we have learned in case of stability of continuous time LTI system, that the poles lying in the left half, the poles of GS must lie in the left half, because the left half maps into the interior of the unit circle. The poles of GZ should lie in the interior of the unit circle centered at origin in the Z plane. Why is it so? That observation that the circumference of the unit circle should lie in the ROC, that observation was a generalized observation taking into consideration both causal and non-causal systems, and that the poles should lie inside the unit circle, that is the observation for causal system. For continuous time system, all systems were considered causal. So that's why there was no constraint on the region of convergence. Rather, there was some constraint on the region of convergence, but whatever you studied, that was unilateral Laplace transform. Therefrom, you obtained this pole location business. So once we have settled for causal system, now there is conformity between the continuous time case and the discrete time case. just see that the figure below is that of a causal but Bibo unstable system, because here the circumference of the unit circle, it doesn't lie in the ROC, rather it lies in this white region, which is the region of divergence. Sorry. হয়ে গেছে আঁকা এটা?
Yes, sir.
Two more figures. The left hand side showing the case of anti-causal Bibo unstable system, and second one showing the case of anti-causal Bibo stable system. Anti-causal Bibo unstable system means the impulse response sequence is anti-causal sequence. So in that case, the ROC of GZ will be, according to what we have studied, it will be the interior of a circle of radius r centered at origin in the Z plane. And because the system is unstable, it's considered as unstable, r should be less than 1, so that this is the unit circle and circumference of the unit circle doesn't lie in the ROC. Right hand side is the case of anti-causal Bibo stable system. So here again, because of anti-causal sequence Gn, the ROC of Gz is the interior of a circle with centered at origin with radius small r. But now, because we are treating the system as Bibo stable system, the circumference of the unit circle should lie in the ROC. So r will be greater than 1. So this is anti-causal Bibo stable system, because the unit circle circumference, it lies in the ROC. sorry. আঁকা হলে বলো।
স্যার হয়ে গিয়েছে।
আচ্ছা, come to a example. A DTLTI system has a transfer function gz given by that partial fraction expanded expression. So you have been asked to identify all possible ROCs of gz, and you have been asked to find out the impulse response sequence, which is the inverse Z transform of gz for three cases: that of a stable system, a causal system, and purely anti-causal system. To do that, oh, this is a just note that poles of gz, they are located at z equal to 1 by 4 and z equal to 2. If those are the location of the poles, and if you are aware of the properties of ROC that we have discussed, remember that at least one pole should lie in the boundary between the ROC and the ROD. So what are the possible ROCs of gz? There are three possible ROCs because there are two poles. One is the exterior of a this exterior of the circle with centered at origin in the z plane with radius 2 units. So this is the case. This is one possible ROC. So just see here that the poles lie there. There is a single boundary of the ROC and the region of divergence. So the pole at z equal to 2, it lies here. Pole equal to z equal to 1/4, that lies here. All right. Second possible ROC is magnitude of z less than 1 by 4. So that case is here. So there is a pole. There is a pole located at the boundary of the ROC and the ROD. That means here z equal to 1/4. Another pole, obviously, it has to be located in the ROD, so it lies there at z equal to 2. The last region of convergence that will be this ring-shaped region. Magnitude of z greater than 1/4, less than 2. So that is the case. Just see here that because it is a region and because it is a ring-shaped region, there are two boundaries between the region of convergence and the region of divergence. On one of the boundary, that pole at z equal to 2 is there, and on another boundary, the pole at z equal to 1/4, that lies there. So these are the three cases. All right. So first case is that of a stable system. Of all these three cases, in which of the case the unit circle, I mean the circumference of the unit circle lies in the ROC? Not there. Not here also, because this radius is 1/4 of this circle. But in this case, it lies within the ROC because that inner circle has a radius of 1/4 and this outer one has a radius of 2. So here the circumference of the unit circle lies in the ROC. So this is the case, that is the case of a stable system. All right. Therefore, here the impulse response sequence is non-causal. So Gn first term, if you take the inverse Z transform, it should be a causal sequence. Second term, if you take the inverse Z transform, it should be an anti-causal sequence, so that combination of the two yields a two-sided sequence. So that is what is written here. For second case is that of causal system, a causal system. There, for causality, magnitude of Z is greater than 2, that case. So in this case, the ROC does not include the circumference of the unit circle. The circumference of the unit circle doesn't lie in the ROC. So impulse response sequence will be inverse Z transform of both of these sequences should be causal. So that is the impulse response sequence, Gn. Now here we considered a causal system, but we have seen that for causality, what will happen? The unit circle centered at origin, it doesn't lie in the ROC. So it is Vivo unstable. I have just mentioned that. Gz is Vivo unstable. Last one is the case where Gn is purely anti-causal. Therefore, the ROC of Gz must be magnitude of Z less than 1/4. Magnitude of Z less than 1/4 means inverse Z transform of both of these terms in Z. They should yield anti-causal sequences. So that is the expression for the impulse response. So here also the ROC does not include in unit circle, Gz is unstable. That is the case. Is that clear? Write down this thing, this problem. So given an expression for the transfer function Gz, you should be able to identify all possible ROCs from a knowledge of the location of the poles. Gz is unstable means the system is unstable. Anyway, there is a short form of writing. Next problem is not related to discrete time system. It's just some general problem on Z transform. So what's the statement? The Z transform xz of a causal sequence xn has these pole zero locations. Poles at z equal to -3/4 and z equal to half plus minus j half. And there is a single zero at z equal to 0, the origin. And you have been asked to determine the pole zero configuration of yz, where yn is x minus n plus 3. And you are also asked to find out the ROC of yz. And these are the pole zero locations. Then what is the nature of the Z transform of the sequence? Xz will be some constant term that will be there, because from pole zero location, you cannot straightway evaluate this constant term. It has to be, for evaluation of the constant term, some other information is required regarding the gain of the system, etc. So this is the expression, nature of expression for xz. Z transform of xn plus 3 from the time shifting property of Z transform, it will be Z cube into XZ. So that will be the expression. We are proceeding towards Yn. Now, if Fz is the Z transform of Fn, then Z transform of F minus n will be capital F with argument Z to the power minus 1. We know that Yn is xn plus 3. That information has been provided. So what will be Yz? The Z transform of Yn. It will be Z cube xz with Z replaced by Z to the power minus 1 because of this observation. With Z replaced by Z to the power minus 1. So in this expression, that replacement is done. That was Z cube xz, isn't it? So that replacement was done. So yield this expression. On simplification, that is the expression for Z transform of Yn. So where are the poles located? Z equal to 0, Z equal to minus 4 by 3, and a complex conjugate pair of poles at 1 plus minus J1. Now, determine also the ROC of Yz. Now, because Xn is a causal sequence, Yn will be a left-sided sequence. That means ROC of Yz will be magnitude of Z greater than 0 less than 4 by 3. That is the ROC.
Sir, is the equation here correct?
Which equation?
Z transform of Yn.
correct
The numerator part. The numerator part. মনে হচ্ছে ওখানে z টু বা -4টা হবে না?
তাই?
ও না না ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, ওটা আমি দেখতে পাইনি। ঠিক আছে
স্যার, এখানে yz এর ওই ROC টা মানে yn এর ROC টা ওটা স্যার কি করে বের হলো, মানে yz এর ROC মানে এই x এর কসাল সিকোয়েন্স জায়গাটা বুঝলাম।
xn টা যেহেতু একটা কজাল সিকোয়েন্স, কাজেই yn টা হবে হচ্ছে একটা নন কজাল সিকোয়েন্স। হ্যাঁ, আর এখান থেকে দেখো z ইকুয়াল টু 0 তে এই yz টা ইনফাইনাইট হয়ে যাবে। বুঝতে পেরেছো? z ইকুয়াল 0 তুমি সাবস্টিটিউট করো, কাজেই অ্যান্টি কজাল হওয়ার জন্য এটা মানে লেফট সাইডেড n লেস দেন 0 এর জন্য এটার আইডেন্টিক্যালি 0 নয়, সে কারণে এটা লেস দেন 4/3 হবে, কিন্তু 0টা থাকবে না বিকজ অফ দ্য অবজারভেশন। অলরাইট, কারণ এখানে একটা পোল আছে z ইকুয়াল টু 0 তে, সেই জন্য ইট উইল বি ম্যাগনিটিউড অফ z গ্রেটার দেন 0 লেস দেন 4/3।
ওকে।
আচ্ছা, একটা কথা বলো, সাপোজ ইউ প্রোভাইড উইথ you with the expression for gz, a transfer function. How will you obtain the DC gain of the system? How will you obtain the DC gain of the
Not
system?
putting z equal to 0.
Z equal to 0, can I? In case of
Z equal
continuous
to 1.
Z equal to 1, right? In case of continuous time systems, how do you obtain the DC gain? By replacing S equal to 0. And Z is equal to e to the power S tau. The corresponding value is Z equal to 1. All right. So in this problem, if you are provided with, for example, DC gain, just an example, if the DC gain value were provided to you, then from that you could have obtained capital K. But that is not our headaches. In the manner in which the problem has been formulated, we need not find out capital K.
Sir, done. You may scroll down.
ঠিক আছে, আজকে এই অবধি থাক।
তো লেফট সাইডের সিকোয়েন্স মানে কি অ্যান্টিকসাল সিকোয়েন্স?
লেফট সাইডের সিকোয়েন্স অ্যান্টিকজাল নাও হতে পারে। ধরা যাক তোমার এক্স এক্স ওয়ানে একটা ভ্যালু আছে, সেখান থেকে এক্সটেন্ড করছে বাঁদিকে, এটাও একটা লেফট সাইডের সিকোয়েন্স।
মানে স্যার নন কজাল সিকোয়েন্স তো লেফট সাইডের সিকোয়েন্স।
হুম, নন কজাল মানে টু সাইডের সিকোয়েন্সও লেফট সাইডের সিকোয়েন্স হতে পারে।
আচ্ছা স্যার।
হলে বলো।
Yes, I completed.
এই নেক্সট সোমবার তো জন্মাষ্টমী, তোমরা কি করবে? কি নেবো ক্লাস নাকি নেবো না, বলো একটা কিছু।